Imagine you're playing this position as black and you decide you want to attack the opponent's king on the queen side. What move would you play to do that and why? You had a chance to look at that. I'm going to show you how we ended up in this position, and then I'm going to show you what I played to try to attack white's king and show you how the game played out and a really nice, brilliant move along the way. Let's go ahead and take a look. So the game was kind of interesting at the beginning. Both of us were playing very quickly, just kind of blitzed out all these moves. And we end up with this position right here where I had obviously castled kingside very early, and my opponent decided to castle the other direction. Now, I had kind of already started expanding over here just with my opening choice, so that helped me in making the decision that, you know what, it's probably a good idea to try to attack the king, right? I'm not going to waste time playing like 3 pawn moves because I've already played them. And so that's a good sign, to kind of think about. But then the question is, well, what do you do? So the first thing that I decided was that I needed to try to open up this file on my opponent's king, right? If I just push by here, I could still try to attack, but it's going to be much more difficult with my pawn in the way. So that's why I decided to go ahead and take, because now this c file is half open, and my rook's going to be more effective if I line it up on the king and the queen. All right, so that's the first thing. Play knight to c6 because I'm making way for the rook to come over. White plays king to b1, kind of proactively trying to get away from that c file, right? I played there anyway because the queen is still there, and I am threatening knight to b4 to fork these guys, which looks like a pretty nice idea. If I can get rid of that bishop, then maybe I get some threats like this. And so knight to b4 is kind of the threat. My opponent plays a3 to stop my knight from going there. So this is the position that I presented to you at the beginning of the video. And the move that I decided to play here was the move b4. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. First of all, we already talked about the rook being lined up on the queen here, right? So if white were to try to capture this way at any point, I'm going to be happy because now I have a discovered attack with my knight. Most likely, I'm just going to take on b4. It's a fork. It's also a double attack here on the queen. Queen has to move. I'm going to trade this and continue on attacking the king. Notice how it's much more exposed now after we've made those trades, and the files are open for my rooks and queen and the bishop as well to attack. Okay, so that's kind of the first problem for white. They can't really use this pawn. And if they take this way, well, I don't really care. Again, my knight's going to jump in to b4. So that's why it made a lot of sense to me to play the move b4. So white plays queen b3, trying to just leave that alone. And if you would like to pause, what do you think I played next? If you had a chance to do that, I decided to go ahead and just trade. And the point here is very similar to what I did before. I want to open up these files so that my rook can attack the king. This is a very common idea when you're trying to attack your opponent's king. If the rooks can't play a role, it's going to be much more difficult to get checkmate. Okay, now some of you might have noticed that my bishop is actually sitting over here undefended. That was intentional. Now, initially what I was thinking was if they take me, I'm going to take the knight. It's just a trade. And I opened up the file for the rook. It makes a lot of sense, right? But as soon as they played here, I started thinking of a different move. So let me ask you guys, what move would you play in this position? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the best move according to Stockfish, and this is the move that I played in the game, was rook to b8. And essentially what I noticed was that I could gain a tempo on the queen and also come down and invade with my rook. And at the same time, it looks like white's only option here is to take my pawn, which, if you remember what I've been saying this whole video, opening up the files is great. It's when I'm trying to attack. So I'm actually glad that that pawn goes away because maybe in the future I can use my other rook and line up over here, right? So all those things made me think, okay, this is probably the best move to play. And I still had the option here. If I wanted to, I could kind of bail out and take the knight. But then I'm like, I don't know how easy it's going to be to attack at that point. And so I decided to just continue on with the attack. Rook takes b2. Now, it's a little bit of a committal move, right? Because now if I decide, you know what, I'm just going to take the knight, well, I can't do that because I'm losing my rook over here. Okay, so I had to commit to the attack when I played this. And so if you would like to pause, what do you think I played next? All right, we've had a chance to look at that. This was the amazing, brilliant move. I played the move bishop takes a3. And yes, that's sacrificing the bishop for free. But notice that we finally removed all of the pawns on the a file. Earlier, white's queen captured that one. Now my bishop takes here. And notice the king is actually stuck in the corner. My rook is boxing it in, defended by the pawn. This is a very dangerous position for white's king to be in. Okay, and of course, if they don't take my bishop, well, I'm still happy because I took the pawn anyway, and you can't really fix that if you're white. So they decided to go ahead and take it. And if you would like to pause, I actually missed the best moves in this position, but go ahead and try to see if you can find them, and I'll show you what I played. All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, the best move in this position is actually the move queen to a5. And this is really interesting because it's like, wait, why do we want to trade queens when we're trying to attack the king, right? Well, look what happens if white takes this. We recapture with the knight, and this is actually checkmate if this knight is not sitting here. Okay, so that's one thing that white has to watch out for. But the other part about this, let's just say white tries to, I don't know, come over here and trade rooks. We go there anyway, giving it up because look at the follow-up. Look at that. Remember that A file we talked about? And white has no way to stop this. They can throw in some random pieces if they want, but it's going to lead to a really nice checkmate. So going back to queen A5, what Stockfish was saying here is that, look, if we get the queen here, trade these off, this is an unstoppable threat, essentially, is what it comes down to. There's no way for white to deal with that. That's how powerful this threat was going to be. It's amazing stuff, right? The other move here, which maybe you said, was queen to a8. This is also a fantastic move, and it's the same idea. You're trying to just trade queens. Of course, if white takes you, this is just game over immediately. So there's really nothing that white can do here. I guess bishop a6. And then what's the idea here? Oh, you actually come back to b6, and you're going to capture this and get the pin. I mean, it's just a nasty position for white to be in. So unfortunately, I didn't see that, and I played the move knight to b4. Now, in my mind, I was thinking this is a great move as well because I'm threatening to win the queen this way with the fork. I'm threatening the bishop. If the bishop ever leaves, this would be checkmate on c2. So I kind of had the right idea, but I didn't execute it in the right way. And actually, if white will, let's see, I don't think white played the correct move here. No, they played knight to c4, but if they would have captured this pawn, I'm actually in trouble. And in my mind, I was thinking, surely I must have a checkmate here after the queen comes over. But the reality is, takes, I come down, king goes here, and I actually don't have a good follow-up. And Stockfish says it's actually kind of just an equal position, and white can survive. I guess takes. Let's see, how do they survive after rook c8? Knight blocks. Let's see, d5. No, I just take. How do they survive here? They have to sack the queen. Wow. And Stockfish says that white has enough pieces, which if you look at it, they do have a lot of pieces for my queen, and they can survive. Wow, very interesting. Okay. Of course, I didn't see all of that, but my opponent didn't take the pawn and played instead knight to c4. So if you would like to pause, what's the winning move here for black? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is queen to a8, and this time I did see it, and I did see the idea this time around. But basically, I'm wanting to trade off the queens because once that queen is gone, there's nothing stopping my rook from just checkmating the king. And of course, if the knight tries to take my rook, well, that allows me to capture the queen. Uh-oh, my mouse just died. Oh, there it is. It allows me to capture the queen with check and then checkmate next move. Okay, so they couldn't take my rook. Like I mentioned, if they take here, this is going to just lead to a checkmate. And there's really not any other good moves for white. I think they tried here. And if you would like to pause, how did I kind of finish off the game here? If you had a chance to look at that, the move is rook to a2 check. And this is a very interesting fork, basically saying, you know what, you can't actually take it because then the queen would come down and deliver the checkmate. Okay. And so the only thing white could do here would be to move the king over. Then I'm taking the queen for free. And on top of that, I have all these pieces that are ready to come over and basically deliver the checkmate on white's king. It's mate in 5 from here, according to Stockfish. So really nice game. And the key takeaway, guys, that you want to remember in your games is when you're attacking your opponent's king, okay, one of the most important things is getting rid of as many pawns as possible so that the rooks can attack the king. Like that's one of the most effective ways to checkmate your opponent's king. And that's exactly what I did here with b4, right? Get that pawn out of there, right? Just get rid of the pawn. Just trade it off. And the same thing over here. Go ahead, take my pieces. I just want to clear the files for my rook to come down. And once you get a rook that's an attacking piece on the king, it's very, very dangerous for your opponent. Okay, that's the key takeaway. And then, of course, you have to find some nice tactics a lot of times to finish off the game. But a pretty good example of how you can launch an attack on your opponent's king. So hopefully you learned something from that. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you next time. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.